Yeah, we here. What's poppin'? We here with Russian in the building. Kelly might make it. We'll see. We're talking about how it's time for some change, man. So what's the topic about today with this?
Yeah, man. I start off keeping it simple, man. You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. You know, it's time for change, meaning that at the end of the day, you know, you need to stop and reflect and look at your life and see what changes you could make to increase your finances and improve your life overall.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, a lot of times we all get complacent, get comfortable, been at the same job for 15, 20 years because that's what you know. Been in the same spot, the same apartment for 5, 10 years. Don't want to move, don't want to change, while everything else around you is getting more expensive and changing around you, but you're not changing. So, you know, the gist of the topic today is it may be time to get paid more money, get a new job. You know, if you've been working, doing something for 10 years, 15 years, you got experience, go get paid more money elsewhere. Stop worrying about, okay, I'm the new hire, so I'm going to be the first fire. You got the skills, you get hired somewhere else. So the main gist of it is just switch it up. Stop being scared. Stop being comfortable. Stop sitting in the same spot while everybody else is moving.
Right. Now that's some real shit. And you know, it's interesting. The only they say this a lot in like spiritual talks or whatever. They say that the only thing that's constant really is change. You know what I'm saying? Because you know things are always going to change. But the funny part is that people are afraid to embrace change because they're comfortable in how shit is. So there's a lot of this sense of security in things being a certain way and being used to things a certain way, because sometimes get into a routine. It feels safe to be in a certain situation because you sort of can predict what might happen, in certain situations. So then you're like, okay, I'm in this routine, I'm in this groove. So change is like, well, shit, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. So let me just stay in this particular situation. And the thing though is that sometimes the resistance to change is a big issue, because what happens is that resistance is you trying to like sort of swim upstream. You're not going with the flow of life. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, well, life is going in this direction and I'm being resistant to life. And meaning that could be just anything in your own situation that you're resisting, but understanding that, shifting and changing could be a good thing if you sort of go with it. So I think like a lot of times, because like, for example, like we're on the internet right now. Imagine like somebody back in the day, you know what I'm saying, was like, fuck this internet shit. I'm not doing that type of shit. And they would be so behind on all the shit that they could, make happen with the internet. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's real shit, bro. Lakari, I was thinking about that shit the other day. I was like, man, what if we never like really jumped at this opportunity on this YouTube shit? You know what I'm saying? Like what if we never, you know what I mean? Because and the thing is, at the same time that we decided to kind of build a legacy in on this internet shit, we would still work at regular jobs,
right? And
we were still doing other things, but we was always pouring into this like situation. And it's funny how continuing to learn new things and learn, because with the YouTube was popping, and then we got into like how to promote on Instagram and promoting on Facebook and doing all the different things, and then they created the option to do like live shows, and then we started doing live shows. So you can even learn how to change and transform and evolve in your niche, like in whatever it is you're doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so many times we forget to evolve, we forget to change, because we kind of spoke about this even in the last episode where we were saying how like you gotta like every 3 to 5 years you should be looking for another, either you should be looking for a promotion or you should be looking for another job, right? And you should always be increasing and doing what you're supposed to do, like shit. Even with us, like we started off promoting the Bad Boy membership, and then we expanded to the Bad Boy membership and the Masculine Identity membership. You get what I'm saying? And then we expanded to even do this show.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So expansion, transformation, evolution, like you gotta constantly be changing with the times and paying attention to what's going on and do what you got to do. But my question for Rashidi is, so with the topic, and speaking of transformation, how can RKT Real Estate help with that? Like, if I'm a customer trying to figure things out, how can y'all help me with that?
Yeah, no, we can help in many ways. Ultimately, a person that comes in, we're gonna look at where they live at, where they work at, assess their, you know, assess their situation as far as, do they have kids? And then we could be able to look and see and be like, okay, you make $20 an hour, you live in New York City, let's go ahead and get you a co-op. So time for change. You working at a certain job, all right, you make that money now. Either one, let's find your new job paying you a little bit more money, or work with what you got right now. Let's go ahead and get this co-op. You get this 1 bedroom and the space that you own, and then now get a higher paying job, and then use that to move out a year after and get that house and keep it going. So we just assess the situation, to be quite honest with you. And actually that's the actual process of how we figure out people's scenarios.
Mm.
No, that's dope. That's dope. And I think also too, when it comes to change, right, is that people got to understand that that's the thing also that makes you grow too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, because a lot of times, even with relationships, people are scared to they're holding on to relationships that don't work because they're scared to change and go out there and do something new and find a new situation. And that type of stuff, it makes it hard for you to grow if you're holding on to a particular situation, because sometimes the change is needed in order for you to get a different perspective and grow, in order for you to get to a different level or a different experience in life. You see what I'm saying? But I'm telling you, it's weird because, there's a lot of shit that, like, even with myself, when I think, like, there's a lot of stuff that I like to do and it's a routine and I enjoy it and I still do it, but I still look for the little feelings of change and then sort of go with that too. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's the thing that people got to look out for, because I feel like there's going to be a natural feeling within you to want to change, because, like I said, the only thing that's constant is change. So you are also changing too. So when you feel those feelings of change, you got to embrace that shit instead of being scared of it. Because it's like when a person, when a person has an idea or they get inspired to do something, say something, write something, start whatever it is, that's basically change, because you went from this to this idea. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But the issue is that if you don't embrace that, then you're missing out on something that could really, like, upgrade you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's some crazy shit.
And guys in the chat, if y'all got any questions on money, finances, or whatever, please feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll answer your question.
Right. Mm-hmm. Real talk. So Rashidi, what do you think is the resistance that some people have to changing and all that other shit?
Oh, well, I mean, fear of failure, fear of embarrassment. Mm-hmm. Those are the two main things, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
Because nobody wants to change. They're like, what's going to happen? If I leave my job, what if I lose my other job? You know what I mean? Are they going to fire me first? Right. It's what's going to happen? Am I going to like it? You know what I mean? It's just fear of failure is a big one. And people got to understand that you have to fail to succeed. And a lot of people don't put stock in that. You know what I mean? It's okay to be comfortable, but at some point you have to take some risk. And a lot of people don't realize that in risk, there's change. But you got to do it, because at the end of the day, if you don't take any risk, you're never going to ever have the potential to have a big gain. You're going to be stagnant. You know what I mean? People that don't take risks, I mean, think about it. The person that works a job, they've been working a job for 25 years. They live in the same place for 25 years. Yeah, your risk is extremely minimal, but your growth is extremely minimal. You know what I mean? So, like, and you're stuck. And in situations like that, now that same type of person, if something drastic happens in your life, your building burns down, now you got to move. Now, like, oh my God, you're panicking and have all this anxiety because you're not used to change. You've been so used to being comfortable, and now you're out your norm. Now you're going to make stupid mistakes. Now you might be set back even further just because you're not used to change and now you are forced to change. And that's the worst thing to do, is to be in a position where you're forced to change, where you have no choice, because now you have no control of the situation at all, and you have to go with the flow of things to a certain extent. So that's a big thing.
Yeah, and I feel, and like what's interesting is that, like, what people don't understand is the change is already happening, whether you like it or not. So, like, even for example, like you grow older, it's an automatic thing that's going to happen without you even having to do anything. You see what I'm saying? So it's not like you can just be like, I'm gonna just stop here and that's that. So it's happening regardless whether you like it or not. The thing is, though, is that when you resist the change, sometimes what happens is that you suffer a lot of times, even like psychologically, because what happens is, let's say if you're in a relationship, perfect example, you're in a relationship and you've been with someone for like 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, or whatever. The relationship is going to change over the years. But if you resist the change or try to ignore the change, that could ruin your relationship, because in order for the relationship to grow, it has to embrace the change. You see what I'm saying? So same thing applies for anything else you're doing in life. So, like, if you're in business, there might be something that happens in business where you might have to shift, either make the same amount of money you've been making or even more, because of how the market shifted or whatever, or how people's spending habits are, or whatever the situation is. So you might have to shift like that. Same thing in your job. Like, your job might introduce some new technology, then you got to learn that new technology to do the fucking was doing before. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you're gonna have to learn how to do that shit in order to make it happen. Because I remember years ago, I heard it was like there's people, and I don't know I think, Miles, you said you probably did this at one point, where it was like you taught people how to use computers and shit. Yeah. Because they didn't know what the fuck they was doing. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's another thing to change, is that you might need to learn things that you don't know now in order to progress later. You see what I'm saying? Shit is crazy. Because even with all this, like when we do the podcast shit and these mics and these cameras and learning how to use StreamYard and learning how to use all the fucking sound effects and all that other shit and all this other crazy stuff, all that was changed. Like, we wasn't, like, if you look at my videos from like 8 years ago, like, quality is different. I didn't have no microphones. It was just like, you know what I'm saying? It's a whole different fucking thing. Yep. You can see the change from that point to now. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Shit went from this.
Exactly. Right.
To this. Exactly. Change for your ass.
Real shit.
And the truth is, though, man, change is inevitable. To your point, Mr. Lucario, it's gonna happen whether you like it or not. Right. It's just a matter of when you're forced to do it.
That shit is crazy. Hold on. Yo.
Ridiculous.
Yo, that shit look crazy. That shit look like the difference between the Matrix and the real world.
Dang. Right. Nah, it's real talk.
Crazy. Look at this shit. Yo.
Change.
Positioning and lighting and camera quality and all that shit makes. God damn.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Change real, man. Change real. I mean, it's so real too, man. I use a real life example. I got a client I'm working with, and long story short, she's elderly. She lived in the same spot literally for about 20 years, and she lived by herself, and she was ready for some type of change because life ain't going in the direction, with a medical condition. She's like, I want to move. I want to move to Florida. You know what I mean? From Connecticut, and so she waited all this time, and she's about to make this change, but she has no choice to make change because for the remainder of her life, she want to try to live a better life. And so now she's forced to make all these changes. So the point is, at some point, change is going to hit you, or else, to be honest, you're just going to be miserable. If you don't change and you don't accept the forced change, you're just going to be miserable. Imagine you staying doing the same thing for 20, 30 years, and then now you have no option and you're stuck in a situation, and now you're on a fixed income. You can't go nowhere. You can't do nothing. And that's what happens in real life. All these people that stay in these same exact jobs and don't make plans for the future and don't try to change, you find yourself in a scenario where you're at retirement age, stuck, can't go nowhere, can't afford nothing. You know what I mean? If you don't have a strong friendships with people, there's nobody to visit you. You sitting there by yourself, and if you do have kids, they out living their life, and you stuck home doing nothing.
Right. Exactly.
It's I mean, not to laugh though, but this is real life of what really happens to a lot of people. You know.
Nah, that's real shit. That's real shit. You know what I'm saying? So guys, you gotta embrace that change. Don't be scared of this shit. And the thing is that it's, you know, it's still within the realm of you anyway. You know what I'm saying? Just like you change, but you're still you. You know what I mean? So and sometimes you can do drastic changes, like we were talking about, you know, careers and stuff. You can do a drastic change with your career. You know what I'm saying? Some of your favorite you know, like actors or some shit, you understand, they had to change their career to acting. Like, what's that nigga? I didn't even know this nigga. I remember I just found out, what's the guy? Mark Wahlberg. Like, I didn't know that nigga used to rap back in the day. You know,
you didn't know he was.
Oh yeah, he used to rap. Yeah.
The fact, I was like, this nigga used to rap. Like, I was like,
feel the vibration. Like, you didn't know that was Marky Mark?
what? That's like, it's crazy. I
knew that shit. I knew that shit.
Damn, you feel what I'm saying? I was like, damn, niggas, you know, they be, you know, making this shit happen. You know what I'm saying? You said, some changes may be harmful, like bleaching your skin. Well, that's somebody changing based off of insecurity. You know what I mean? And
exactly.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that right there is, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a positive thing, but it can be a positive thing. I'm gonna tell you why. Because let's say you do that, and you're doing that because you're insecure, and you want to bleach your skin and make it lighter because you don't like having dark skin, whatever it is like that. And then through that, you realize that, you know, oh, this didn't necessarily make a difference, or you found some way to love yourself through that fucking experience or whatever, and realize that it wasn't really about the skin, it was about shit that was inside you or whatever. But you might not have come to that conclusion until after you fucking bleach your skin. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But either way, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where your mindset changed. You feel what I'm saying? Your mindset will change. And that's one of the biggest things I think people need to take heed to, is that your mindset can change over time, and a lot of times will change over time, and that gives you perspective. But that perspective happens because you've embraced the change. Because this is the thing: if you're caught in your ego, a lot of times, that's the thing that sort of makes it hard for you to change, and for you to change your mindset, because you're stuck in a certain way of thinking, and then you identify with that way of thinking, and you think, I can't think any other way or do any other thing different than what I'm doing or how I'm thinking, because then I feel like I'm betraying myself. I'm not going to be me if I do this other thing. You see what I'm saying? And so part of growth is understanding, and this is, get a little deep on it, is understanding that, you know, you're not really your ego. You feel what I'm saying? It's more so understanding that you're the change that's happening. You feel what I'm saying? Versus your ego. You know, you're not, because a lot of people say, for example, they'll be like, well, I'm a teacher, right? But you may not teach in 4 years. You feel what I'm saying? You might do some other shit. So now you're doing this other thing. Maybe you're doing some art or some shit. Who the fuck knows? So it's not. So you change from a teacher to an artist, right? So that change shows you that you don't have to hang on to the teacher identity or the artist identity. You feel what I'm saying? You just know that you're just flowing through the situations. And I think that's one of the things where, you know, one of the positive things about change is recognizing that it's a natural thing. You're constantly changing, and you don't have to hold on to any one particular thing, because that's going to basically stunt your growth or stunt your perspective or perception on life and on things. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, there's another part about like cats don't want to get out of their comfort zone. That's one of the big resistance to like change.
Right.
And the crazy part is that cats don't realize, or people in general don't realize, that like your comfort zone or staying comfortable, that's what keeps you where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So, you gotta like say to yourself, well, I might, you might have to move to another city. You might have to switch up a job or change companies. Like a lot of people, like I was explaining last week, where I was complacent at a job because they gave us like, free food on Fridays and all this type of shit. And I was complacent with that shit. You feel me? And but the thing is, complacency, somebody even said it, resistance to change is stagnation. You feel me? So that's real shit. Because your comfort zone is what you're used to.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want more success, see, here's the thing: niggas want to win, niggas want success.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you do?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're used to what you're doing now.
Right.
So you gotta, if you want what you're not used to, then you gotta do what you're not used to, which is getting out of your comfort zone. You understand? A lot of people want to make improvements, but they don't want to actually put the work in to improve. And that's what, and see, and the thing is too, is that when you look at the word improvement means addition. Addition changes. Addition is a change. Improvement means making whatever you got now better. And we could get into being grateful and all that other shit about where you at and all that. But what I'm saying is, if we're talking about change and understand the importance of change, we got to look at the fact that, sometimes change and growth may not actually be comfortable, but that's why you got to be willing to get out your comfort zone. That's why you got to be willing to do more so you can get more, do something different to get something different. Like you were saying earlier about, the definition of insanity, keep doing the same thing. If you don't want to change, then it stunts your growth.
Right.
Get out there, man.
That's real shit.
Damn.
Yeah, and so I think what happens with a lot of people is, and also I think this is what sort of makes it hard for people to embrace change or understand change, is that the routine of doing what you do in your entire life or what you're doing in life or whatever, right? What happens is that sometimes you get in such a routine that it gets so comfortable that you don't really think about other things outside your routine. You feel what I'm saying? And so what happens is that when you're so caught into your routine and you're like almost like a robot, you know what I'm saying, with your daily activities and what you do, right? It lends itself to where sometimes it might be hard for you to be inspired. You understand? Or inspiration and stuff. You understand what I'm saying? And so, because even the word inspired, I was listening to a guy named Wayne Dyer. He talked about this. He said the word inspired means in spirit. So what happens is that when you're so caught up in the everyday material world cycle of doing things, right? You don't take time to actually sit with yourself and be inspired or think about certain things or wonder or dream about other things or whatever. You feel what I'm saying? And so that causes you to be in the cycle where you're so caught up in your routine that you don't even notice the change around you. And on top of that, you don't make conscious decisions to change things because you're not being inspired. Because you have to, in order for something to change within your situation, you have to be somewhat inspired to get out of the routine, because to get out of the routine is literally the definition of changing. You see what I'm saying? Because the routine is the sameness and the same thing you've been doing over and over again. So the thing is that once you get inspired or have a thought or say, you know what, maybe I should try this, even to the extent of something simple as let me drive to work a different route. You know, let me see. I've never seen this way. Why haven't I never drove this way before? Or, you know, saying gone to this restaurant over here. Like the other day, I was walking in my neighborhood and shit, and I realized there was a bunch of new restaurants that opened up that I've never been to, and I was like, yo, this shit look good. I should like go here one time. You see what I'm saying? Just because. But it was like the thought just came in my head as I'm sort of walking and looking around and everything. You see what I'm saying? So those thoughts inspire change. You see what I mean? And so that's the thing I think that people, don't understand a lot, because when you're so caught in your routine, you're really like a zombie. You're like a drone. You feel what I'm saying? You just really don't fucking, you don't allow those moments to fucking come to you. This is why a lot of times people say, I was meditating or I was taking a shit or some shit, and a thought just pops in their head. And that's because in that moment, they're sort of out of that routine and just sitting still and just, letting those thoughts come to you. You feel what I'm saying?
That's real talk, man. Like you said, even making the smallest changes, like I tell everybody on this panel, everybody on this panel, just make the slightest change in the most smallest thing, anything in your daily routine, like Ms. Locario said, and you will see the difference. Like,
right.
To your point, it's so crazy. I remember back in high school, growing up in the Bronx, I had the biggest high school. And literally, if I took a different route or a different staircase to go to my classes, I seen a whole set of new faces I ain't never seen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's that serious when it comes to change. The smallest little things. You know what I mean? Just let me change how I spend. Let me change how I eat. Even if it's a small change. Let me eat one more fruit a day. You'll see the difference. That's why it's important to always be evolving. And change doesn't mean that it has to be drastic. It just means that you're evolving. You're still changing. You're still growing. You know what I mean? You look at crabs. Crabs, at the end of the day, they get out their own shell and move out and get a harder shell. Pause. You know what I mean? But the point is, it's change. You know what I mean? So it's necessary.
Right.
Real shit.
We'll talk. It said, what are your thoughts on spiritual awakenings?
Yeah, that's not my world. I don't know about that one right there. That's it.
So it's really, all it really is that it's one of those things where, okay, so I'll just use my story of how I went from not believing in God into believing in God. You know what I'm saying? So this is my spiritual. So so before I didn't believe in God, because the God that I didn't believe in, and I still don't really believe in, even though it still falls under the thing, is I never believed in the God in the sky that's watching everything and is making a little list and checking it twice type of motherfucker. Like I don't believe in that. I still don't believe in that. Now, the spiritual awakening I had was there were certain things that I thought, and then there were certain things that happened that reconfirmed my thought. And then I heard other people talking about the thought I had. So, for example, it was, and I have a bunch of examples. There was one time where I was in a situation where I had I would say a negative interaction with somebody, right? And the person that I had the interaction with that was negative with somebody I cared about. And I was, and it kind of pissed me off because I was like, why the fuck that person coming at me like that, blah, 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 right? So 10 minutes later, I was on social media and there was a post from a quote from a book that said something like, I forgot exactly what it said, but basically it said this. It said, people, when people are interacting with you or talking with you, they're talking from their perspective and how they feel and not necessarily what you did. You see what I'm saying? Like, so that right there, I was like, oh, that's God talking to me, telling me like, yo, chill the fuck out. It's not that serious. Don't take it personally. You see what I'm saying? But it happened literally like right after this shit happened. And I was tight. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. I got you. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, universe talking to me. So I've had so many different situations like that where I was like, yo, that right there is God. You see what I'm saying? And so that's the type of thing that made me believe in it and also this is what made me believe in it too, because I had another situation where I was doing what I always did, right? Like I had my routine, right? I was like, I always do this thing this way. And then what happened was something happened where I couldn't do it that way. And because I couldn't do it that way, a better outcome came because I couldn't do it that way. So the universe stopped me from doing it the way I always do it. So I had to do it a different way. And I had this fucking awesome benefit from doing it that way. But the universe got in my way to say, I know how you are, Lucario, chill the fuck out. We'll take it from here. And this is going to work out better for you. And I was like, oh, that right there again is God. That's the spiritual awakening of noticing and being aware of those things, because it teaches you stuff. You're like, oh shit, okay. I realized that the universe is conspiring to help me out all the time. So that's the thing. And I actually talked about that too in my new Bad Boy membership program for all y'all motherfuckers out there. When I talk
go to badboymembership.com. Badboymembership.com. Stop playing.
So any other last words you want to say, Rashid, before we wrap this up?
No, just start with changing by going to the website, booking an appointment, www.rktrealestate.com. Going to make that change and book an appointment so we can go over some things in your life and make that change and make your life better.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
All right, people. So listen, man, we appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll holler at y'all later. Remember, the truth is inside you. Peace. We gone. We out.